Right, guys, so in today's video, I want to break down the difference between a VSL funnel and Instagram ads. Now, a lot of people in the start of this year have come to me and said, David, I want to run a VSL. My first question to them is why? I want to get more calls booked. Okay, cool. Have you got a sales team? No. Who's going to be taking the calls? Me. Okay, we're not running a VSL then. Because if you're running your business and you are operating everything else, you are going to have to designate time to be able to take all of these calls. A VSL is very, very good to get book calls in, okay? But a VSL will be dictated by your availability and how much you're willing to spend, okay? Whereas IG ads are a much easier approach to a point where if you build up a team, you can then move on to a VSL structure. Now, let me explain the difference between the two. Let's talk about the VSL and then we'll talk about IG ads. So, with a VSL, the job of a VSL is to sell your product, okay? And what you're trying to do in the VSL is explain your offer, who it's for, and how it can help them get an outcome. Okay, and in most cases, people will provide their details in order to get that information and then make a decision to book a call. Now, this can be very effective if it's targeting the right people and the messaging is the right messaging. But what we have to look at is the cons and the pros. So let's just look at what a VSL can do and what it can't do. So the pros for me is just one thing, straight and simple. It's to educate your potential customer on your product, and if they like what they see, they're going to book a call. The cons of a VSL, it's only really suitable for bigger budgets, as cost per lead and calls can be anything from £100 to £200 qualified. You know, if you wanted to get someone on a qualified call, then you've got to be able to sell to them as well as run your business as well. Okay. Now, it's expensive to build, and you'd probably need around 10 to 20 hours a week to serve your time to sales calls to speak to these prospects. Now, the thing is, if you do not have that time, the likelihood is you don't have the budget to run a VSL. VSL requires budget, okay? And it also requires a hell of a lot of creatives. Now, the creative side is very vast. Like, you need a lot of creatives so that you have different hooks, different angles, and different ways to put your messaging out. So what you can see here is obviously this is what you would see in a Miro board, and you would have multiple creatives, 30 to 40 different angles, and then you would find the winners, and those winners would then get scaled, and they would obviously book in the calls. Now this takes time, it takes budget, and not just that, it takes manual labor. So if you're going down this route, you need to make sure that you have the funds, and also you need to make sure you have the budget to test across multiple images. Now, with the amount of images you're going to be testing, you need to be spending a minimum of £100 a day. Some people will say you could run it off of 3 ads, 4 ads, and you'll find a winner. You could, but if you don't find the winner, then you've got to create another 4 to 5 ads. So in most cases, how I get quick results with a VSL campaign is I have multiple ads. So I know that out of those 25 to 30 ads, there'll be 3 or 4 that are winners. Then I can build more variations off of that. But with a VSL, you are looking at time for sales calls. You need a good budget to be spending on it. And also you need to expect that you're going to pay around £100 to £200 per call. Okay. Let's go into the Instagram ads. Now, Instagram, you can run a follower ad or a DM ad, straight to the point. Okay. And with that, you can get someone straight into your inbox and you can engage in a conversation. Number one, what you're going to pay for a follower or a DM is incomparable to what you're going to pay for a VSL. And if your Instagram ad is good enough and it explains enough about who you are, your product, and your service, you will get people in there that will be interested. Now, you will get volume for the same £100 you'll spend on a follower or DM ad. You will get 5 to 6 times more people come into your ecosystem. Now, the question is, are they qualified? Not all of them will be because they haven't gone through a questionnaire or a form, as this is pre-qualification. So you are basing it off of an impulsive click. But if the messaging is good, you will get good people in there. Of course, you will get bad, like anything. But the volume you can get from a DM or a follower ad is much higher than a VSL. Okay. Now, when should you use follower and DM ads? Always when you're operating your own business. Always when you're managing most of the stuff yourself. Always if you just have one setter in the team. Okay. And if you cannot book calls and make sales with IG follower ads or DM ads, you certainly should not be going on to a VSL ad because you're going to pay a hell of a lot more to get people in to that VSL. Only when you start making money from here, you can move to this point. Okay. So, pros and cons of an IG follower ad, right, or a DM ad. The pros, it's very cost effective. It doesn't require hours to book out and take sales calls because ultimately the conversations you're going to be having are going to be within your own time. It's not going to be an assigned time that you have to turn up to a call. And when you're having these conversations, you can get to a point where you feel the person is ready and you can propose to book them in for a call around your schedule. Okay. You can obviously manage it yourself or you can hire a setter. It depends where you're at, right? Now, you will qualify customers by having conversations over a period of time, and you can get followers from anywhere from £1 and you can get DMs for around £5. Now, the cons are volume in the DMs take time to nurture. So you're not going to get a follower coming in immediately and want to buy off of you. You're going to have to build rapport for them. And then man hours in the DMs, if you're really, really trying to push, can be quite labor intensive. So what you can do is you get a setter in place and they take over that time for you. And then obviously from there, you would be able to, when the conversation gets to the right point, take over and then push them into a potential call. Now, why I like follower and DM ads and why I think that these have come back around in most recent months is because this here can feel very forced, but it's also designed for a specific type of business where they're at that current time. They're far more advanced than a small business that's trying to operate with minimal staff and trying to start off. Now, if you're going through the VSL, like I say, you need a big budget. If you're going through IG DMs and followers, you can run a budget of $200 or £200 a month, and you can easily have a lot of conversations and have prospects in the pipeline. Now, follower ads and DM ads can obviously be costly if you're not on top of it. If you're not working with leads and you're not having conversations, these people will die out. So you need to obviously be manually on top of it. A VSL does that for you, if that makes sense, because they go through it, they go through the form, they watch the content and information provided, they book a call, and then they can jump on a call. So it is a much more manual process, but if you're not working this, you shouldn't really be moving to this. Now, you can go to a VSL if you are a local business or an agency working with local businesses from the offset. You can. But if you're a personalized brand, my advice would be to master this first. Once this is mastered, it's profitable, you're booking calls, you're making sales, you're well within your rights to then take a percentage of your budget and put it into your signature offer and start running a VSL secondary outside of your follower ads and your DM ads. But you should never go immediately to a VSL if you're a personal brand. You want to build up your personal brand. You want to be having conversations, building up your audience, identifying what your audience like, what they don't like, the types of conversations you're having, and then you can move it over to a VSL. Now, a VSL is the buzzword in the agency space at the moment, and everyone seems to want to run a VSL. Whenever I have conversations with people, immediately they're saying, I want to run a VSL, I want to run a VSL, I want people to just book calls on autopilot. But when I find out that they're doing absolutely no work here, it leads me to be quite worried that this is not going to solve their problem. So this is a great way for local businesses, online businesses, service-based businesses to make people very, very product aware. And then if you gauge that you're having good conversations, you're speaking to the right people, and you're profitable, you're making sales from this type of funnel, then you're well within your rights to take a percentage and move it into a VSL. But my advice is always start off with a simple follower campaign, a simple DM campaign. If you're a personalized business, service-based business, even a local agency, because you will get conversations. It's a lot more light-hearted, whereas pushing people straight into a call from a cold ad is very, very difficult nowadays. So that's my advice. Obviously, this gives you an insight of the pros and cons of VSL ads and follower and DM ads. Now, I run a mixture for different types of brands depending where they're at. But my advice with anyone when they're starting off is always just focus on nurturing your audience, understanding your audience. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by running follower ads and DM ads. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys, and I will speak to you soon. All the best.